Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Windward Buddhist Temple's Family Service. My name is Gerald Matsuda, and I'll be your MC for today. I'd like to welcome back Raymond Takiue and thank him for officiating today's service. So we will begin with the ringing of the temple bell, or Kansho, that signifies the beginning of a temple service. It is a deep and sacred ritual steeped in ancient tradition. It is the calling of the people to come together to listen to the Dharma or teachings. The temple bell represents the gratitude and deep appreciation of the members, friends, and guests of the Windward Buddhist Temple. So please sit quietly in your seat while it's being rung. If you are able, please rise for the meditation, followed by the chanting of our Vandana Ti-Sarana by the congregation in both Pali and English, found in the red Jodo Shinshu Service book on page 7.
of the mandals.
Please be seated. Today's sutra is Juseige, which can be found in the Jodo Shinshu Service book on page 54. Then it will start on page 55. The Juseige is a poetic summary of the basic intention of the 48 vows made by the Bodhisattva Dhammakara, who becomes Amida Buddha. Dhammakara promises to attain supreme enlightenment, to save the poor and suffering, and to declare the universal availability of salvation through the name everywhere throughout the universe. If you are able, please rise for the meditation, the recitation, Golden Chain of Love, which can be found in the Jodo Shinshu Service book on page 126. Then please remain standing for the Gatha Arigatai, found in the Purple Praises of the Buddha book on page 14. I am
living in the middle of Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now depends not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namandaos, namandaos, namandaos. For the rain that brings us life.
Please be seated, everyone. This morning, our temple president, Dennis Tashiro, will be giving today's Dharma message.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Boy, looking outside, today's starting out great. Look how beautiful, at least the sun's shining. It's a great day to go to the beach or to the park maybe. While I was getting ready for my talk today, my favorite online help is Google. And I looked up, what's so special about today? It's very special. It's today, July 19. It's National Ice Cream Day. Dana, are we having ice cream? Hey! All right. Great day, great way to celebrate. I wasn't expecting that answer, but okay. For today's message, I'm going to be reading a children's book. The book is called The Humble Pie, written by Jory John, illustrated by Pete Oswald. I'm a pie, a humble pie, and that's no lie. Oh, shucks. I don't brag. I won't gloat. I never take credit. I go with the flow. I stay low-key, down low. I'm never showy. Oh no. I really don't mind if you claim all the glory. I will gladly lift you up so you can fly. If you want the spotlight, I will happily stand in your shadow. Sure, every once in a while, I yearn for a little recognition. A sense that somebody has some idea of what I've been up to. But mostly, I'm okay with being overlooked. It's part of my day-to-day life. That's just how it goes. Meanwhile, my best friend is a cake named Jake. We've known each other forever. He makes everything, and I mean everything, look easy. For instance, he always gets the best grades. He's absolutely amazing at sports. His social skills are top-notch. Here he is at a birthday party. Watch how he mingles. Note how he makes everybody feel comfortable. Look how he lights up the room. And here I am in the background, mopping up the spills, taking out the trash, refreshing the appetizers, wrangling the toddlers, and making sure everything runs smoothly. It's who I am. It's what I do. I'm used to it. Fact, nobody notices pie when there's cake nearby. Yes, Jake is my best bud. And I'm content to just stand next to him, lending my support so he can shine. Because I'm a pie, a humble pie, and that's no lie. Oh, shucks. But something happened recently that changed the way I see myself. Listen to this. One fateful afternoon, our science teacher, Mr. Berryman, announced that we could select our own lab partners for a project. We would have a week to prepare a presentation. Jake and I paired up, of course. I was pretty excited. What a dream team. Yes. On Monday, we brainstormed. On Tuesday, we sketched out our plan. Jake got a little off track though. On Wednesday, Jake said that he'd be late. Then he never showed up. On Thursday, it was just me again. On Friday, I started building our project by myself. It turned out that Jake was busy with nearly every extracurricular activity in existence. Finally, the night before the project was due, Jake called to say that he would be late. He had some half-baked excuse. This really takes the cake, I thought. I've had enough. I was beyond overwhelmed. There was no way I'd be able to finish in time. Suddenly I was sweating. My palms were clammy, and I felt a little wobbly. I realized that I needed to say something, anything. I didn't exactly love the idea of confronting my best friend, but it had to be done. And for once, I wasn't going to sugarcoat it. When Jake finally arrived, I nervously cleared my throat and said my piece. Look, I know you have a lot on your plate, I said, but I've been doing a ton of the work on this project, and it's really stressing me out. I can't do it all on my own. At this rate, we're going to be mincemeat tomorrow. I need your help. Jake stared at me for a long time. Then he looked out the window. He furrowed his caked brow. What if I made a huge mistake? What if Jake didn't want me to be my friend anymore? Maybe I should have just done the work and kept quiet as usual. Jake let out a deep breath. Then he nodded. You're 100% right, he said. I'm really sorry, and I'm glad you said something. I don't deserve any credit on this assignment. I'm such a flake. I shook my head. You're not a flake, Jake, I said. You've just been busy. And the good news is that there's still plenty for us to do as a team. I know you'll rise to the occasion. You have layers of talent. Jake smiled. Oh, shucks, he said. In that moment, I realized something important. For so long, I had convinced myself that being humble meant staying unappreciated and unseen and occasionally getting walked all over. But there's nothing wrong with having a tough conversation, asking for help, and making sure you're being treated fairly. And Jake realized something too. True excellence in life is about more than grades and sports and activities. It's about being there for your friends when they need you. The mood immediately improved after that. We got to work. We ate snacks. We listened to music. We stayed up most of the night. It was actually fun. We crossed things out and switched things up and rehearsed our presentation. And guess what? In the end, everything came together. Yes, the dream team was back. The presentation was a rip-roaring success. Mr. Berryman even complimented us on our teamwork. That was the icing on the cake. We had both gotten the chance to shine. Our classmates were impressed too. My buddy here deserves most of the credit, Jake said. I blushed from my crust to my toes. Oh, shucks. These days, I'm still a humble pie. But now, I stick up for myself, and I take credit, and I have tricky conversations when necessary. And you know what? It's incredibly gratifying. I'm proud of the pie I've become. It's possible to stay humble while showing the world who you are and what you can do. You don't have to remain in the shadows. Yes, I'm finally ready to fly, and that's no lie. The end. Okay. This is about the third or fourth Jory John book that I've read here. I don't know if you remember, but I really like the stories that he throws out there. And I understand there's a new book coming out in November, so I think Merle already reserved it for me. So look forward to my next. Okay, for those little ones who were listening, were you all listening? I've asked Gerald to pass out a little goodies for the little ones. So, where's Jack? Oh, okay. Give it. Go around. Okay, now I have a message for the grown-ups. The book doesn't indicate a name for the pie. So, I'm giving him a name. I'm going to call him Guy. Guy the pie. Yeah? Just like Jake the cake. Okay. This story does say a lot about Guy's humbleness. The book also shows how Guy and Jake are interdependent and interconnected. They needed to work together to complete their project. Now, according to Google, my friend, independence is the state of being mutually reliant on one another. It refers to a dynamics when two or more people, groups, or things depend on each other for support, resources, or survival. In this relationship, the actions of one directly influences the other. Interconnectedness is a state of being mutually linked and related. It describes a complex network where different elements, events, or people influence and depend on one another, meaning that a change in one component directly impacts the other. In his book, River of Fire, River of Water, Taitetsu Uno quotes a writing by the Dalai Lama. The quote, "Interdependence is a fundamental law of nature. Many of the smallest insects are social beings who, without any religion, law, or education, survive by mutual cooperation based on an innate recognition of their interconnectedness. During our Bon Dance, many of you helped to sell rummage items, bon towels, takuang, bitter melon namasu, pickled items, a variety of baked items, dinner plates, spam musubis, and freshly made andagi. Preparation involved many hours of work and donations by temple members and volunteers. During the Bon Dance and the days leading up to it, interdependence and interconnectedness were in full display, with everyone helping each other. People's generosity, support, energy, and camaraderie were contagious. Everyone jumped in to do his or her part. Interdependence and interconnectedness are evident even during our Sunday services. Someone rings the Kansho, others light the candle and incense, is a greeter, is the MC, plays the piano, and Ryan records a service for others to watch it on YouTube. We all have our refreshment teams, and they put out some awesome spreads. Then during refreshments, we develop our connectedness. and develop our community and a sense of belonging as a Sangha. Everyone is accepted, just as each person is. In Jodo Shinshu, the idea of accepting everyone is a fundamental core teaching, rooting in the concept of Amida Buddha's infinite compassion and the primal vow. Amida Buddha accepts all beings exactly as they are, without requiring prior purification, moral perfection, or spiritual mastery. Amida accepts everyone, no matter what. While preparing for today's talk, I found an interesting article titled Buddhism and Relationships by Harry Gyokyo Bridge of Buddhist Church of Oakland. And the following are mostly excerpts. At Memorial Services, I've been sharing an insight that I recently had, that Buddhism is very much about relationships. Other schools of Buddhism might not emphasize relationships, but in Jodo Shinshu, we can see the importance of relationships in a number of ways. Let's start with the obvious, interpersonal relationships. Perhaps the earliest relationships we have are with family, such as our parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, and so on. These relationships are so important, with a deep impact on how we develop as we grow. Human development and psychological well-being rely heavily on forming stable interpersonal relationships. They satisfy innate social needs, foster a sense of belonging, and provide essential support networks during times of stress. We also encounter other people outside of our family. Some of them even become friends. I'm fortunate to still be in contact with someone who was my first friend. We had moved from Japan to Massachusetts, and our next door neighbors in our new house had a kid about a year younger than me. I had pictures of us playing while we were infants. We moved to a different house soon after, but fortunately our families stayed connected. Sometimes, though, we encounter people who don't become friends. I have a clear memory of my mother taking me to a local nursery school to check it out. We went into the place and it was chaos. I remember kids screaming and yelling. I was terrified. I must have begged my mother not to leave me there because I didn't end up going to nursery school. That was maybe not the best move. It just isolated me from other kids. It just isolated me from other kids that much more. In hindsight, we may have just had bad timing. It must have been recess when we arrived. It was a sensory overload that set up patterns that would continue for years. Whether chance encounters like my first visit to nursery school or much deeper relationships with family and friends, we can recognize the impact on ourselves. The next step might be then to become more aware of my impact on others. As Buddhists, we aspire to be the kind and gentle to every living thing. But we also need to reflect realistically on how we treat others. I believe that these personal relationships are at the core of our lives as Buddhists. I also found a second article that I thought was very interesting, titled On Not Returning Hatred by Reverend Yuki Sugahara of Buddhist Church of Sacramento. Again, these are excerpts from the article. In February this year, many people were moved by Bad Bunny's halftime performance during the Super Bowl, especially by the message he gave. The only thing more powerful than hate is love. At a time when divisions fueled by hatred seem to spread not only in the United States, but throughout the world, this message felt especially timely. With this in mind, I would like to reflect on this theme from a Buddhist perspective. Reverend Sugawara continues, in one of the oldest collections of the Buddha's words, the Dhammapada, we find a teaching that closely echoes this idea. A well-known translation reads, hatred is never dispelled by hate. Hatred is dispelled only by love. However, the phrase can be understood more precisely as hatred is never dispelled by hate. Hatred is overcome by not harboring hatred. Certainly, responding with love is important. Yet, Buddhism invites us to look one step further. The emphasis is not simply on loving others, but on not returning hatred with hatred and not receiving anger into our own hearts. Reverend Sugawara states that an illustrative story appears in chapter 6 of the Sutra of 42 sections, one of the earliest Buddhist texts translated into Chinese. One day, someone deliberately approached the Buddha and began to insult him. The Buddha did not respond with anger. Instead, he simply felt compassion for the man, recognizing that his mind was disturbed by ignorance. When the insults finally stopped, the Buddha calmly asked, if you bring a gift to someone and that person doesn't accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The man replied, it returns to the one who brought it. The Buddha then said, you have just insulted me, but I do not accept it. Therefore, those words return to you. Just as the sound echoes back to the one who calls, and a shadow that follows a form, one cannot escape the results of one's actions. Therefore, refrain from harmful conduct. What is important here is not simply that the Buddha responded with compassion, but that he did not receive the insults. No matter how compassionate we try to be, there will always be people in this world who harbor ill will. If we were to accept every hateful word directed at us, our hearts would soon become overwhelmed. If we have another choice, we do not have to receive it. If we do not accept those words, they return to the person who uttered them. Not returning hatred for hatred, not responding to anger with anger, and not receiving it. Perhaps this is a wise way to live. To me, this reflects the way of a person of Shinjin. In Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, a person of Shinjin refers to someone who has awakened to true and trusting, an unconditional surrender of Amida Buddha's saving grace and compassion rather than relying on one's own efforts. Among the 48 vows of Amida Buddha, the 33rd vow teaches that those who encounter Amida's light becomes gentle in both body and mind. This expresses how those who live supported by Amida Buddha's primal vow gradually become to embody a softness of heart. Shinran Shonen also teaches that ordinary foolish beings constantly carry afflictions, and those afflictions do not disappear during our lifetime. Even after realizing Shinjin, we do not suddenly become different people. Yet, precisely because we are such beings, we are supported by Amida Buddha's primal vow, which assures us that we are never abandoned. In that assurance, we're able to walk our days with hearts that gradually become more gentle. Anger and jealousy still arise within us, That is simply the reality of being a human. But even so, supported by Amita's compassionate working, may we continue to live each day with hearts that grow softer and more open. I believe that these two articles I just read not only are interesting, but I think they're very meaningful. I'm glad that I could share those stories with you. In closing, please place your hands together in Gassho. The following is from a little booklet titled Heart of a Buddha. Life is short. Time is fleeting. Uncover the true nature. Purify the mind and heart to attain happiness. Be kind. Be compassionate. Be generous. Do good. Concentrate. Understand. Awaken. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you for listening to my message. Oh, did we catch all the little ones, or we have extras? Okay. All right, we got some more goodies, so who are the little ones at heart?
Thank you, Dennis. If you're able, please rise for the Gatha, Buddha loves you. And this is found in the Praises of the Buddha book on page 37. Then continue to stand for the Gatha Nembutsu, which is also found in the same book on page 145. Please be seated, everyone. Thank you for attending today's service. Now we'll have announcements by Dennis again.
Hi again. Okay. Thank you, Raymond, for being here to help us. Thank you, Gerald, for being our MC. Thank you, David, for being our greeter. Thank you, Cynthia, for ringing the Kansho. Thank you, Lisa, for playing the piano. And of course, Brian, who's recording today's service. We had a guest, but he left. Okay, a very big thank you to everyone who helped with our Bon Dance, from making the takuang, baking all that manju, building and decorating the yagoda, preparing and cooking food that were sold, selling things in the country market, to all the cleanup afterwards. Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo. It was a lot of work, a lot of effort, so thank you for for being here. Okay, next Sunday will be our monthly Remembrance Service. If you'd like to remember a loved one who passed away during the month of July of any year, you may do so during the Remembrance Service. Please add the name of your loved ones on the list at the greeter's desk. If you have a picture of your loved one, please bring it to the service. Reverend Shingo will officiate the service and provide our Dharma message. Next Sunday will also be our final service for the summer. There will be no services during the month of August. Sunday services will resume on Sunday, September 6th. A reminder, the Buddhist Study Center's 2026 summer session will be held July 26th through the 29th with guest speaker Dr. Aaron Prophet. There's a flyer on the bulletin board. You can find more information there. The deadline for registration is July 20th. That's tomorrow. So you can either sign up for the whole 4 sessions, or you can sign up individually. Right now, I think I have only time to attend one of the sessions. Okay, the refreshment teams are asking for help. If one of you or someone could volunteer to be part of one of the teams, we would greatly appreciate you helping. We have 3 teams, and each team is on duty for 4 consecutive weeks. I think 4 consecutive weeks. So that'll be about 4 times a year. So 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 times a year. But if you can help, please see me after the service. After today's refreshment, there'll be a Bon Dance follow-up meeting. Some of those attending the meeting are part of today's refreshment team. We would appreciate if any of you could help by staying to help with the cleanup. Okay, we never had a chance to do Birthday Sunday, so we're doing it today. For birthdays during July, please step forward, or Cynthia will take care of this.
Good morning. Oh, you're stepping forward already. Great. So, yeah. So, those of you who have birthdays in July, please come forward. Okay, get ready to sing. Here we go. Happy birthday.
How old are you now? Okay, are there any other announcements? Joy.
Okay, I hope you guys you kept your cars nice and dirty for us for next week's car wash. So the public time for it is 12 to 3, but my students will be here from 11 to try to wash as many temple members' cars that are interested in participating, and we would welcome your donations. It helps my students, my Key Club students, to go to their conferences, their leadership and service conferences. It helps to fund service projects that they do that they need funding for. This is for Kailo High School Key Club, and so I'd like to thank you in advance for your support. And so again, from 11, we'll be here trying to figure out how we can wash cars in the parking lot. And then, but if you are gonna come back later, let's say you have a second car and you wanna come back, from 12 to 3, we kind of have it where it'll look different, like it won't be tandem, but we'll direct you in, and we kind of have to fit as many cars as we can as fast as we can wash. So thank you very much for considering supporting us. Thank you.
Okay, it's time for refreshments. So let's do words of thanksgiving. They'll be on the screen. We are truly grateful for this wonderful food, a gift of life. May we share its benefits with all beings. As we partake of this food, let us remember our need of Buddhist compassion, which surrounds all people and all forms of life. Namo Amitabha. Itadakimasu. Thank you, everyone.